Hi class, I wanted to do a tutorial on how to go into your feature spread article that you are tasked to do this week. So last week you were to design a magazine cover, and this was done in InDesign. And as you can see right here, this is the demo that I did for you guys. And this is, something that I did last week. You can listen to the recording. I showed you how to set this up in InDesign. So if you missed that, definitely go back and listen to that recording. I showed you how to set up your image, your images, your hierarchy, your masthead, everything that needs to be in your cover. Also, I provided tips and tricks on readability of type, alignment of type as well, and overall hierarchy of type in your elements. So setting up a grid is definitely something that you need to start thinking about even more so as we get into your double page spread. So we're not going to be designing the whole magazine. We're only going to be designing the cover and then your feature article, which will be a 2-page spread. That means it's going to be side by side. So open up your magazine cover. Make sure you make the changes that I gave to you in the past feedback. If need be, make those changes to it. And then as you start for this new week, we're going to create and add to this. So what I want you to do is go ahead and just listen to this first, and then you can go back and rewind and do step by step if you need to. That kind of helps and make sure that you're listening and comprehending everything that I'm going over. And I'm going to do a step-by-step on what needs to be completed for this double page spread. Now, this isn't going to be due at the end of the week. The only thing that's really going to be due is just posting your pages, your double page spread with your cover to the discussion area. It's not going to be graded. However, it's an important step to your design process. You want to make sure that you have at least one response from a peer or myself before going forward. And then, obviously making those changes. And then the next week is when your cover and your double page spread will be due at the end of that week. So just kind of a heads up, this is all part of the process. So if you're not submitting your discussion, your work to the discussions this week, you're going to miss out on a lot of time and effort that you will need to do when finalizing your spread. So your project probably won't be as effective at the end of the week that it's due. Okay, so what I want you to do is find your pages in your panel. If you don't have that showing in InDesign after you open up your cover page, go to Window, choose Pages, and you'll notice your cover page should be the only one appearing here. But what we're going to do is we're going to add pages to this. We want to add 2 pages as a double page spread. So how do we do that? Well, there's 2 ways to do it. You can either go up here on the upper right-hand corner of your page panel and choose Insert Pages, or you can go all the way down here and there's a little plus sign. It says Create Page. You can hit that too as well. The only thing is it's only going to complete or add in 1 page. So you're going to have to hit that 2 times for a double page spread. If you have facing pages on, and I'll show you what we did when we first started this, if you go to File, Document Setup. So if yours is looking more vertical, where it's not side by side, just make sure your facing pages is checked, because if it's not, it's going to show up vertically like this. And we don't want that. We want it to be facing pages. This is like printer spreads. So make sure that you have facing pages selected, click OK. And it should look like this. The only difference between the cover page now and these 2 double page spread is my margins are a little different. So I want to make sure my margins are similar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to Layout on your menu bar and choose Margins and Columns. And you remember how we initially set our top margins to, I believe, 1 inch, and also the bottom ones to 1 inch. Let's go ahead and change the overall margins for both. So, and you'll notice I only have page 3 selected. You can see it's blue. So I'm going to cancel before I do anything. I want to make sure I shift select both pages in my page panel, because if I don't do that, it's just going to apply that to whatever page I have selected. So I'm going to shift select, and you'll know it's selected because it'll be blue. And I'm going to go back up to layout, margins, and columns. And I'm going to go ahead and change my margins. And I'm going to set this to about, let's do a 1/2 inch all the way around. So 0.5, 0.5, 0.5 all the way around. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to choose 4 columns. And that's going to divide your both of your pages up into 4 columns. Now, I'm going to leave it up to you guys if you want to change this, but I want to at least see one page with 4 columns, and maybe the other page could be a different, column spread. You don't necessarily have to do, both 4 columns. And I'm going to show you some, other ways that you can design this too. So I'm going to go back up to margin and columns with my left page selected, and say I just want to do 2 columns for this one. Click OK. And maybe my left hand page, I want to do 4 columns. Okay. So, you can set up your grid like this too. Sometimes in a lot of cases, feature articles, and I'm going to show you some examples, do have, say, one big image on one or maybe half of the double page spread, because typically feature stories, you want to make sure that the image and the copy is balanced. So you want to make it more enticing. And let me show you, before we go forward, some examples of feature spread, just so you get the idea. I think a lot of you know what this looks like, but just kind of give you an idea. I looked up feature spread magazines, and you can see in a lot of these, they're more graphically created in regards to image, typeface. It's not all body copy is what I'm saying. So, for instance, on the left-hand page might be more of the imagery, and then you're kind of having the headline go from the left to the right. Just kind of make sure that you're paying attention to where the binding is, so that you're not putting any type in the middle of the binding. But, feature stories are a little bit more creative than other regular articles in magazines. You have a little bit more creative freedom, whereas, in a regular article, just not a feature article, the images are typically smaller, not as, pronounced and emphasized. You can see here in this example, for instance, a lot of the copies on the right. So if you want to do something like this, I would encourage you to do that, where you're not using as much type, but you have body copy, you have your headline, you have your subhead, you have, your pulled quote, you have your drop cap. So I'm going to go and show you kind of how I would approach this, and feel free to copy what I'm doing in your own way based on your magazine. Okay. So I think once I have this set up, I'm going to probably do, let's see, I'm just going to keep this as is. So I'm going to do 2 and 4. And, again, this is going to be just a feature article. I'm going to match my feature article from the copy that I have on my cover. So that's my copy. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it in here. Now I can't see it because let me ungroup this. And I'm going to make it a color that I can see. And it's very important to keep it very similar style-wise, and keep the type the same, keep the style the same as far as, how you have it on the cover, because you want to keep it consistent so that the person reading it understands that, yeah, this came from the front of the cover. This is, I can see a connection with the feature spread and the cover to the inside. Okay. And 2 of the ways that you can do that is through imagery and your type, or 3 ways: imagery, type, and color should be, very similar. Now I just changed this color because, you can't see it, but I'm going to copy and paste my feature article name headline with my subheadline. And I'm going to go ahead and bring it over here. And we can always change this, obviously, the text and all that good stuff. Okay. Before we even get started with anything, I wanted to show you what master pages are. So master pages are a great way to set up a template. And what I mean by template is something like page numbers or something that's going to be repeated throughout the entire magazine, say a footer or folio. Page numbers is a great example where, we're going to repeat these page numbers on every page. We're going to repeat maybe a line element on every page where you're not doing, some magazines are 100-page long. So you're not creating these elements over and over again. It's an efficient way to keep these elements on each page that you want them to be on, but also consistently where they're at. Okay, it looks like I lost my margins here. So I'm going to go ahead and change those back to half. There we go. Okay, so I just did a 1/2 inch margin all the way around, and I'm just doing a 2x4. I might not even follow this 2. I might just make this all one image. But let's go ahead and do our explain what master pages are. Okay, so over here in your page panel, you noticed how maybe some of your pages have this letter A on there, and then you see a page above here, it says none, and an A parent page. A none page is just a single page that doesn't have any attributes applied to it. A parent page, an A parent page, now you can rename these, but this is just what it starts, the default, is what a master page is. So in order to change your master page and apply it to your pages, you need to double click on the actual master page icon here. So double click on that, make sure that it's selected. And what it's going to do is it's going to switch it from a regular page to your master page. So I'll show you what I mean by that real quick. Watch in here in your regular pages, when I create an element here, how it'll repeat on this page now. See how it's on the left-hand page here, page 2. Look how it just is viewing now on there. Now I'm going to copy and paste this. I'm going to put it on the right page. Look how it's appearing on the right page now. So anytime you want similar elements, say I wanted this little square to be applied always on the top left corner or right corner, I should say. Say maybe if you have, let's see here, like a little tag here with a headline. Let's do that. So that kind of makes sense. And you wanted it on both pages, on every single page of your magazine, left and right. So you would have, say, copy on these, but I'm just going to keep them as simple design elements. Okay. As long as your pages are assigned a letter A based on what you're putting those on, it's going to apply that all the time on your pages. Now, the only way that you can edit this is if you're in your master page area here. Once you go and click on your actual pages, look how it changed. It went back to my regular page. I can't change this because it's locked, what I did, my little tabs here, but it's applying it. And anytime I add more pages, look what happens that have the A on there. It applies that too. Isn't that cool? So like page numbers, anything that you want consistent, on the same, throughout your magazine, if it's an element that's always going to be the same, like a header bar or something like that, little tag, page numbers, that's what a master page is good for. If you don't want to apply to, say maybe this page ends and you want a different color for this one, all you would need to do is create a new master page. Okay, so how you would do that, go back to your master pages and you would say, should say master pages here, insert pages, and we want to do page 1, no, cancel. We have to actually be in the master page, and then we're going to do add pages, and this is going to call it a B parent. Okay, so let's say I'm in my master page now on the right side. I want to do a similar little tag, but I want to make it a different color. You know, say I want to make this, you know, now blue, and I want it to be a gradient. Oops. Drag in this gradient here. Oh, I gotta get my swatches up. Sorry, guys. Okay, so I want to make it a blue gradient. I want it to be just on the right side of the next article. Okay, so once I save that, and now it's not going to apply it to this, you know, I want it to be applied to this page, page 5, until I actually drag my B right page over top of my page 5. And once I do that, oops. And it should change that to B. There we go. And once I do that and I click into my pages, you'll notice it changes to that. Okay. So that just assigns it to your master page. Now you're not going to have to worry about making more than 3 pages. So you have your cover and your double page spread. So I'm going to delete these. I just wanted to show you how master pages work. And I'm going to delete these. And that's just delete. I'm just going to focus on, oops, what did I do here? Delete, parent spread. I think I hit duplicate. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go back and I'm actually going to take off my elements here because I don't really want this. And I'm going to go to my master page and I'm going to show you how to set up your page numbers. So go to your master page, click on the left side and zoom in. And actually we're going to go ahead and set your margins up again here too, margins and columns for both. Let's shift select so we get both in the master page area, margins and columns. And let's just do half again, just to make it, you know, similar to our pages. Okay. On the left-hand page, go ahead and take your type tool. And what I would do is I would just draw a margin guide and I would divide it up between the purple margin guide and the trim line. And then go ahead and draw another vertical guide. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that type tool and drag it in between. So it's kind of on the baseline in between the bottom margin and you know, it's in between the trim line. So I'm going to start the feature story. I'm going to just start it at page 2. But before I do that, what I want to do is I want to go up to type and I want to insert special character. So go up to type in your menu, special character. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to markers and we're going to go to current page number. And it's going to set an A there, and that's going to set your page 2 for your left side. Don't let this, you know, you don't have to delete this. You want the letter A. That's going to switch it to whatever page number it's assigned as you add pages here. Now you could do a space after that, maybe do an option 8, like a little bullet point, and then maybe modern dog. You could put the name of your magazine in there. Okay. Typically a folio is a page number with the name of the magazine. And the name of the magazine should be small. So I'm going to take it down to maybe like 9 or 8 point type. It should be similar to the type that you use for your actual masthead. So I'm going to do, there we go, perfect. I'm going to spread this out just a little bit. There we go. And you don't have to do a little dot in here, a little bullet point. You could do like a little long vertical line, which is right underneath the delete tool. If you hold the shift key down and hit that, that will give you that line. I would just make sure the spacing in between here is the same if you do that. And then you don't really even have to put that in there. You can just have modern dog, and you can actually use your tabs if you want. I'm going to do that. So instead of putting anything in between here, I'm going to have the letter A, which is my symbol for my page number. I'm going to select it all with my type tool. I'm going to go up to type and I'm going to choose tabs. Remember how we worked in tabs for your menu? I'm going to pull this all the way over here. I'm going to set, I want my modern dog to tab all the way over here to my next margin. So I'm going to do the right justified tab, kind of what you did with your price points. And I'm going to set it right here, right where my margin into the roller here, right where this margin line ends. Okay. I'm not going to put any special leader in there or anything. I'm just going to set my tab and then I'm going to close out. I'm going to put my cursor, just hit it one time in between the A, which is your special character, and the name. There shouldn't be any space, and hit tab. Now, if it does this, that means I set my tab a little bit too far. So that the type box is a little not as long. So I need to stretch that type box out. So let me go ahead and stretch this type box out here. There we go. So I had to pull because I just had a really small type box. I have to pull this all the way to my margin guide. And now I can see it. Okay. So if I were to save this, let me save it. And I were to go back, so I'm in my master page now. If I double click on my left side of my page now, look what happens. It actually adds my folio, my modern dog, and it changes the number of the page number based on the page here. Isn't that cool? Now you can't edit it here. It's already locked in. If you want to edit it, you just double click back onto your left margin master page, sorry. And like, let's say you want to change the special character here. You can do that as long as you don't put a page number in there. Just leave it as an A. You can change the font. So let's say I want to go to that. I want to use that BBoss. Oops. Just don't change the, we'll do like 10-point type. We'll do 12. We'll go a little bit larger, but don't change the A. And you could change the font size. You can change whatever font style that you want. All right, now just for ease of, just to be, so you're not repeating that whole step, you can copy and paste this and put it over on your right side of your document. So you have your right side numbers of your page. The only thing is you have to switch this around. Okay, so I would definitely pull your guides out so you can see. If you don't have snap to guides, make sure your guides are here. So these are definitely on the same baseline. And what I would do is just go ahead and copy your right. If you're using your name here, just copy this and delete it, and then hit delete again. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on the left side of this A and just do paste. And hit tab, and it should tab over. Now, if that's a little too hard and that's not working for you, might need to start over again. I'm going to save this and do exactly what I did over here, just, the long way. Okay, so insert special character. Don't change the A unless you want to change the font and the size. Now I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back to my actual spread, and I'm going to see that my left side is page 2. And my right side is page 3 now. So anytime you add pages that have to do with this master page, so say if I add page 4 and I add page 5, which you don't need to do, it's going to give it that number. So 4 and 5. Okay, so that's it for that. So let's delete these spreads here. And save. So that's how you would do. And just remember, if you can't edit it here, you have to double click on your master page to edit it. Okay. So that's how you would do that. Now, what I would do is research, go ahead and get a picture. Let me stop here sharing. I'm going to go ahead and share my Pixabay. I'm going to look for more dogs that I can maybe use for this article. Okay. So, I used a very distinguished dog on the front. So maybe choosing something very similar would be, it would carry on the pattern of unity of the same style, the same look of the front cover. But it's using a different dog. Okay, let's move this to so I'm just, looking for other pictures for the inside of my article. I found this main image. Let's go back to it might take you a little while to do some digging, but grab some imagery so that you have it. You can use, more than one image if you want. I'm going to, my columns, my margins changed here. Actually, what I'm going to do, I might do something different here. Let me take my rectangle frame tool. I might start this article out because he's kind of leaning to I'm going to bleed this out. I'm just going to do a rectangle frame tool from my inside of my binding, and I'm going to have it bleed out to my right, left, top. File place. I'm going to place that image in that I just downloaded. That's pretty cool. Object fitting, fill frame proportionately. There we go. And now it looks very similar to the dog on the front, but it's a different pose. So it's not like a boring type of an image where I'm using that same repeated image, but it looks similar, has the same background. It's, that's keeping it cohesive. Now you'll notice when you do place this in here, if you don't place this on a master page, your bottom page number and everything will be covered over it. So you won't see your page number. And how to avoid this is you would need to actually place it on the master page itself. Just know that if you ever repeat this same right page, it's going to repeat this background image. And then what you do is go ahead and send to back, because all of your type is in the back. And we're going to make this type white instead of black so that we can see it. Now, this is probably not going to be a problem because you're only working with 3 pages, but just an FYI, if you ever duplicate this right master page on any other pages, it's going to duplicate this same image. So in that case, that's why it's nice to have different master pages that you can name so that you're avoiding repetition that way. But when I go back to my pages, you'll see that now I can see my, let me see if I can do my trim view here. You can see that you can see my name of the magazine and now the number, the page number. Okay. All right. So with that being said, you can do a full page image on one of the pages of a feature and then just concentrate on making your left-hand page. Let me do maybe 4 columns here. You can do something like this, or you can do it the other way around, or, researching different feature pages will definitely help you understand which way you want to go with yours. And you'll kind of work with this on the page. That's what designers do. They don't necessarily always keep it the same. They play around with image and type all the time. Now with the headline, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this on the top, but I'm not necessarily going to keep it within this one column. And that's okay because it's a headline. So I'm going to make this a little bigger. Oh, a lot bigger, I should say. Let's see, type in tables, because it's the headline. We wanted to make it bigger. And one way to do this in a little bit easier of a way, we can go ahead and scale it. Let me see here. Your scale tool should be in your toolbox. It looks like this. And you just double click on it with that selection. And what you can do is just scale it up a percentage. Just make sure, and we can hit preview, you can see it. Just make sure it's, proportionate. We don't want it to be stretched in any way. Okay, so, and, in a headline, it's a little different than on the front of your magazine. So you can kind of play around with this if you want in regards to, it doesn't have to exactly match what you have on the front. Oops. You play around with this a little bit. I might just keep it the same because it's pretty equal to maybe a 2-page or a 2-column size. So I'm going to go maybe like, let's try 250. Oh no, that's way too much. Let's go back to 100. Okay. And I'm going to do, what did I do? 200 before? Actually, that looks really good. All right, so then I'm going to pull this up so it aligns with the columns. See how the letters are aligning with that purple edge as best as possible. You can kind of keep it down a little lower than the margin, that's fine. And then this part too can be added below here. Obviously, we have to make that bigger. Let's group that and then scale that bigger too. So 200%, again, same thing. With this, I think I'm going to treat this a little differently. Let me ungroup this. Maybe have it on one line down here. Obviously, I got to change this color because you can't see it. Let's do like red maybe. And then maybe on the subtitle or the subtitle, because that's a headline. We're going to pull this over to the 3rd column and we're going to bump this up. And that's okay to do if it works, you know, for the space, you know, that's perfect. And that will work. If it's readable, makes sense. It's still cohesive. Just playing around with this. Okay. So let me do just like a preview here. You can kind of see how it's coming along. Okay. Then, so you're going to basically just copy what you have on the front for the subhead or the headline and the subtitle. I'm going to actually align left this so it looks a little bit better here. Align left so it aligns with, there we go. Perfect. See how that aligns a little bit better. I'm going to pull this up just a little bit more. And I'm going to pull this up just a little bit more. Perfect. Okay. Now I'm leaving kind of like a 1/3 type of an option up here. So if I were to pull down a guide that meets at the bottom of the baseline of my subhead, you can see I'm doing like a 1/3 of a spacing here between say the top half, the top 1/3 information in the bottom. We want to leave a little bit of space in between. We don't want to get too crammed from the headline and the subhead. We want to leave a little space, at least I would say a 1/2 inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch. And then this is where the byline would be, and then this would be where the body copy starts. Okay. So go ahead and take your type tool. And the byline is usually very small. So I'm going to do by, and I'm going to put my name. You can put your name too, it's fine. And you can keep this the same, if it's readable, the same font as you did your subhead in your headline, if it's readable. And I would keep that too, you know, usually they do have it, it's italicized. I don't really have that in my font that I have, but typically it's anywhere between 10 to 12 point type. It's not real big. Keep it, you know, maybe a little bigger than the body copy. That's fine. Have some space in between. I'm aligning left my copy here. And then I'm going to leave a little bit of space. You don't want it to be too close. I'm going to go ahead and before I do that, actually, let me have you do this. Put down your horizontal guide so that's not right on the baseline here because we're too close to the numbers. We're going to go up just about 1/4 of an inch here. And this is where the baseline of my copy will be. We don't want to get too close to this folio. That's the reason. So I'm going about 1/4 of an inch. So right where this line starts and right where this line ends is where my copy box is going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and my body copy. Go ahead and drag and do one body copy text box. And then what we're going to do is we're going to divide this up into 4 columns or 2 columns, depending on what you want to do. But since we have this divided up in 4 columns, let's go ahead and do that. So go up to type and choose area. Let's see, where is it at here? Not type. Is that type? I always get this wrong here. Hold on. It's under type. Where'd it go? I'm always like looking for this, and it's always. Oh, you know why? Because this was an Illustrator when I was telling you guys before. This is a little different in InDesign. See, I'm getting all confused here. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to change this to be 4 columns, and we want to do this. And let's go to create columns. Yes, margins and columns. Okay, but we want to do it to this. We don't want to do it to the actual page. So hold on one second. There is a way to do this. Okay, hold on one second. It's in here somewhere. Edit. Let's see, margins. It's going to give me probably margins and columns. Yes. But we don't want that. We want this to be broken up. Here, actually, let me do this. Let me fill this up with placeholder to copy, which I want you to do. So go ahead and click in there. And we're going to go up to type and we're going to put fill in placeholder text. We're going to do that first so we can see the whole thing. Okay. Now it's going to fill this whole copy box up, and it's going to be 1 box, and that's okay. We're going to change this. We're going to do a select all. And we're going to change this to a readable font. I wouldn't change it to whatever you have your headline and your subhead. I would either change it to like a Times New Roman is a good one to do. Like keep it very classic. Times regular is fine. And I would go, you know, about like 10-point type with maybe a 14-point leading and see how that looks. That's typically a very readable, balanced type of a font. Okay, so let me go over here into my properties. So I think I could change my margins or my columns here. Okay, let me slide this over so you can see what I'm doing here. There we go. That's what I was looking for, my text frame. So with this body copy box selected, we want to change our text frame to 4. Boom, there you go. And when you do that, it's going to obviously change, you know, your flow of text, which is fine. So that's what I want you to do. We're not going to have actual copy to place. This is going to be just, you know, fill in placeable text. So it won't, you know, it won't make sense. It'll just be placeholder text. So you won't have to worry about actually finding copy. And I'm not providing copy for you guys. Just make sure you have that as a placeholder copy in there. Okay. Just kind of take a look. You want it to be left aligned. You want it to have enough space in between your leading of text. You want the text to be readable for the body copy because it's larger body of copy. You want it to be a little bit, you know, spaced in between the byline, enough space where it looks good and is framed nicely. You don't want any widows or orphans, which are, you know, it's fine in here. And so that's basically what I want you to do. Go ahead, and if you want to place more placeholder text, just end it here. Say if you have more space, go ahead and, you know, add more copy in there. That's fine. And that's kind of more equaled out there. And that's basically what you need to get started with your spread. Okay. So there we go. That would be like a feature spread. And what would happen is, you know, if you were really truly designing this for a real publication, the next pages or whatever pages, it would continue on. If it continued and it had, ads in between. You would have continue on page, whatever, and you'd have more copy and you'd have more images. But we're just focused on the 2 pages of your feature story, which shouldn't be a ton of copy. It should be a nice balance between imagery and hierarchy of type, your headline. It should be unifying with the cover. You know, it should be kind of aligning in those ways. Now, if you want to do a drop cap, I want to explain a couple of things with paragraph styles. And we talked about that a little bit in the past lecture where I said I would cover it. So I just want to show you real quick how to use those. Okay, so in InDesign, you have paragraph and character styles. Character styles are best used for like 1 or 2 words where you want to make something bold, you know, 1 word in a sentence bold. And you want to make sure you save that style so that you can use it anytime. So I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, let's go up to styles, and we're going to do character style. Okay, so this is what character styles are. And it's going to give you a default of 9, and that's fine. We're going to do a new style. So we're going to click on the plus sign, and we're going to click right on top of character style 1. We're going to rename this, and I'm going to name this bold text, or actually bold body copy. And that would be like 1 word, say, in your article that you want to apply it to, but you want it to be consistent. Okay, so how you would change this is once you change the name, double click on it. Actually, this is making a copy. Let's double click on the blue bar. Bold body copy. On the left-hand side here, your character style option box will appear. You have your general settings. Just keep that, you know, based on whatever, just leave this as is. Go down to basic character format. This is where you can actually set the font style, the font size, the leading, the tracking, the case, anything that you want it to be. Now I'm actually applying this to Times Roman. And where's my Times Roman? I think I just have Times. Let's just leave it at Times. And I'm going to make this bold because I'm making it bold, but I just want it to be part of my body copy. My body copy is 10 points. I want to keep it that same size, and I want to keep it that same leading. I just want to change it to bold, and maybe we'll give it a color. So let's go down to character color, and we're going to give it a blue color because it's going to match my subhead. Okay, click OK, and nothing's going to be applied until you actually select the word in your copy. So like, let's say one of these words you want to emphasize in your body copy. You select that 1 word, and then you go to your character styles that you made that character style to, and you choose character style. What's going to happen when you click off of it, it's going to make it set to whatever you set your character styles to. So it's a nice way to go in here and say, okay, I'm going to make this bold and very cohesive. Okay. You can always change this. Just double click in here. Say if you want to change the character color to red, click OK, and it's going to change it to red. Okay, so it's kind of a nice way to effectively do this throughout in an easy way. Another thing is you have paragraph styles. So there's character and then there's paragraph styles. The difference between the two is a character style you typically just do for 1 word, you know, an actual style. A paragraph style is you're doing it to a whole bunch of groups of words. So if you wanted to say, for instance, before you set your character style, you want to set all of your body copy to be the same size, the same font, the same leading, which is very consistent. What you're going to do is create a new paragraph style, and we're just going to name this body copy. Okay. And times 10, 14, everything that we had, everything looks good. Click OK. And anywhere where you have type, say you're importing type from other sources, Word documents, and you're placing it in throughout your magazine, all the body copy, all you need to do is select all and hit body copy in your styles, and it'll change it. Isn't that cool? So for instance, let's make this a style. So I'm going to double click on my subhead, and I'm going to click a new paragraph style, and I'm going to name this subhead. And everything should be set because I already have it set with the font Everything should look like that, okay? So let's say if I wanted to apply that same style to my byline, which I really don't, but I'm just going to show you for, sake of showing you. So let's say you do another article and you have, you want to use that same consistent look, but you have a different tagline. I'm just going to select my byline. You can actually select your byline or whatever type that you're wanting to change, and it's going to change it to that same style. Now I'm going to undo this because I want my byline to actually be a new paragraph style. And I'm going to name this byline. And that's what's nice about that is if you create another article, like I said, in the next pages, you can keep that style consistent. Your byline, your subhead, your body copy can all be consistent in the following pages. And all you have to do is one click once you set those styles. So that's what that's used for. Now, one thing you can play around with is a drop cap, and a drop cap is basically only applied to the first letter of the article name. And a drop cap can be applied if you select the first letter. And we're going to do I believe it's a character style. Let's go to character style and hit new character style. And we're going to double click and we're going to name this drop cap. Now in this drop cap, we're going to make it the BBoss because that's my headline. Okay, and then we need to make it bigger. Actually, we're going to make it, let's see, 18. Let's hit preview. I think it's going to, yeah, there we go. So when you hit the preview button, you can see it applying those changes. So if you wanted to make it bigger, you can definitely make it bigger. It's obviously going to make it bigger here. And you could do it that way. The only thing is it's not actually dropping into your, other lines of text. So another way to do this, there's a couple ways to do this, but another way to do it, I'm going to cancel this so it doesn't apply it. And I'm going to go to paragraph styles and I'm going to create a new paragraph style. And I'm going to name this drop cap. I'm just going to name it new so I have a new name in here. And I'm going to go to drop caps and nested styles. And I'm going to go ahead and hit preview so I can see my changes happen with the E selected. And I'm going to tell it how many lines I want it to drop. So 2 lines, here's 3 lines, here's 4 lines. You can go on and on and on. How many characters you want? I just want 1. That's fine. You can even set the drop cap, let's see, to a different, I don't know if this is going to change the actual, yeah, it's going to change that. Okay, hold on. Drop cap, where are we at? The only way that you can change the style of the font, so if you wanted to use like say a different font for this, you can change the color too, by the way, is and see how it applies this to this. What we're going to do is actually select all of the body copy minus the letter E, and we're going to go back to your body copy. See how it kind of changed the E too. So we're going to have to actually do a little bit of a drop cap. We want drop cap. And then what we want is we want this so it doesn't affect our body copy. Okay. So how we do that, there is a way to do that. Let me figure this out here. Okay, body copy. So based on the body copy style, the same style we want is the body copy. And here we go. I think what you have to do is set the drop cap first. This always gets tricky. Hold on, let me zoom out so I can select all my copy here. There we go. A little better. Copy. Based on. Okay. Okay, I think I kind of know what to do here. What we're going to do is usually we have a period ending in a sentence here. Let me add a period here. And I'm just going to select this first, say first sentence of your drop box or your drop cap, which would be the very first sentence. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new style. And we're going to name this first sentence. And we're going to, oh, hold on, before we do that, actually choose all of this except for that E. There we go. Sentence. And then this should have the same, everything should be the same as the body copy. So we're good for sentence. And then this letter E, once you're done doing that, should be able to, no, it's still kind of adding that. Okay, that's frustrating. There is a way you can do that, and I cannot for the life of me remember how to separate that. So let me get back to that and get back to you on the drop cap, because there is a way to do that without messing with everything else. You want to keep everything consistent. Let me go back here to, there we go. You want to keep everything consistent. You don't want to change the color. You just want the drop cap to be affected. So, you know, you can do it several ways. You could do it even, some people do this too. Let me take the E out and let me do a copy box. I'll get back to you on that other issue because I've had that issue before, and there's one little trick that I always forget that you have to do. Okay, so you can create your own letter separately. And let's give it that BBoss again, BBoss. Make it bigger. Make it really big. And I'm going to change the color. Let's go to swatches so we keep the color the same. Now you would only do this to the first letter. You wouldn't do it to every letter of each section. Okay. Now the important thing to know is just gonna go ahead and pull this box in so you can see the letter, but you know, there's some space around here. Go ahead and pop it in where you want it. You can use your up and down arrows if you want precise. There we go. And what we're going to do, I'm going to pull this down a little bit. We're going to do a text wrap on it. Okay, so we're going to go up to type. Oh, hold on, let me bring up my characters properties. Here we go. Text wrap is under your window. That's right. So it's under window. Text wrap is what you select. And this allows padding around your letter E. If you select, say, the second option here, which is text wrap around bounding box around the actual bounding box itself, it'll wrap around there. If you have it wrap around an object, say if you have an object, say instead of like a letter, you could have it wrap around that way. So anywhere this copy box is, it's giving you a little bit of padding all the way around it. And you can change the padding, you know, the space here. So if you wanted more, you can change it there. Let's see, I don't really want my byline to be affected. It will affect other things if it's in the way. So I'm going to move this up a little bit. But you can do this where, you know, you're kind of making it stand out and it's in its own copy box. That's another way to do it. I will get back to you on how to address that change in the actual copy itself. because I think that's important to know. And I would actually, let's see here. It's not going to go up. Pull this down a little bit. There we go. Balance it out a little bit. So that's a drop cap. That's just a couple ways to do it. And that's just showing you a little bit about your character styles and your paragraph styles. Now you can surely set up your paragraph styles for your headline as well. But since we're not really doing more than 2 pages inside your magazine, we're not really going to be using them, but it's always good to know why they're used and, why they're there for the consistency and efficiency as you as a designer, so that you're not redoing everything over and over again, page per page. All right, so once you're done, you're going to save it. You're going to have this is what it should look like with the trim and everything off. So it's a nice, you can see how it's unifying. You have your page numbers in there. You have the name of the magazine in there. You have your headline of the feature article. You have your subhead, the byline, the drop cap, your body copy. The only thing I don't have is the pull quote. And a pull quote is basically you're pulling out a quote, say in your copy, and it's usually only like 1 line. So let's say this is a pull quote. We're just pulling out this place copy text. And a pull quote can be set in your type itself, or it could even be set over top of your copy or your image. Say for instance here. And it's just, one of the most important parts of what, you want to grab somebody's attention with, as far as something that's in the article that might want the person who's looking at that pull quote. Usually pull quotes are something you see after you see the headline. So if it really kind of entices them to read the article, that's kind of what you want it to do. I'm going to Avenir next, put this in an Avenir next. And again, you could do another paragraph style for this. I'm going to do Avenir next, bold italic. Usually these are a little bit bigger, they're pull quotes. Just kind of be aware of, you wanted to start out with a quote and end with a quote. And obviously this is placeholder text, but bear with me here. I'm probably make it a little smaller. I think I made it 18 points. I'm going to make it 14 points by 18. And then I'm going to kind of adjust this so it flows better a little bit visually. And it shouldn't be a lot of text. It should just be, just enough to see. And you don't necessarily have to have it there. You could have it, maybe down here, a little thinner. It's just, there's a hyphen in there. That's kind of what a pull quote is. You're just pulling out from the article itself a quote. You're adding quotes to it. You're pulling it, copying it, and pasting it into another text box to make it a little bit more emphasized, to entice the reader to want to learn more about whatever it is in the article that they're talking about. So it's just a nice way to get, gain more attention to the article. And I would definitely align this to your guides. I have it right here up against my margin guide. And if you want to add it up here, I would align it to the right, margin guide. I think just, anywhere you think it makes sense and flows nicely is good. I'm probably just going to center it down here where it's kind of centered into my copy box here. So that kind of works nice, I think. And just remember, you don't need to have real written copy here where you actually can read the article. We're just doing placeholder text. The only thing I want to be able to read, and if you want to, you can redo the quote because it's not real long. It's like 1 sentence. The feature story, the subhead, the byline should all be obviously in readable text that makes sense for the feature article. Also, having the page numbers on there is good. What you don't want is page numbers for your, look at that, it's getting weird. Your cover page. So let me bring up, before we wrap it up here, let me go to pages. And I want to make sure that my cover page is not assigned a master page. So how I do that, it's actually assigned the letter A right now. So it's assigning that right page. I'm going to go up to see where it says none, this actual little page. I'm going to drag and drop it right on top. And you'll see that little A should disappear, and it didn't. Let me see if it. Nope, it didn't. Hold on. Click off, click on. There we go. There we go. And it goes from the A being on there to disappearing. So now this page is not assigned anything at all. It's just a cover page, which is perfect. The only thing that's assigned master pages are these two pages. I can see the little A on there. I know it's small, but you can see that. All right, so when you're done, just save it, and then you're going to save as a PDF. So Adobe presets, just do a smallest file size, that's fine. And then name your magazine cover, have your name in there, magazine cover. And I'm going to do magazine spread and cover. Smallest file size. Very important when you save this, and I'll know if you listen to this recording or not. When you're going to save it as a PDF, you're going to want to choose spreads, or else it's going to do each individual page that you're going to view it. If you don't choose spreads, I won't be able to see it side by side, for instance. So that's important before you click export. You might also want to do crop marks and use document bleed settings, just like we did before you export. You're good, because I have bleed set on here. And then before you actually submit anything, I want you guys to open up your PDF. And I'm going to go ahead and do that now so you can see what it looks like. PDF, where's my PDF? Oh, it's in my document. Hold on one second, guys. I saved it in my folder. Okay, so this is what it would look like. Now again, it's showing printer spreads, so you can see it's not quite, it's showing exactly where it would be trimmed in between these little crosshairs. But just make sure it looks good. You're seeing the spread side by side, not just, individual pages. And then once you're ready to submit, you submit your PDF. All right, well, I hope this helped. Like I said, just go, step by step based on this demo. And then if you have any questions, let me know.